Okay, we're going to have a look at the large function. So the large function, the same works for the small function in Excel, is a function that lets you pick the largest of a particular set. So let's have a look at it in its simplest form. We'll put in a new column. The data set I'm using, these are obviously made up grades for made up students from a made up course, but it's a fairly typical data set, lots of different numbers, and there are lots of different applications for this function, but in our case, usually it's because you've said to the students, I'll give you best 4 out of 5, or I'll replace your grade, your worst grade, with this other assignment you've done, or whatever it happens to be. In which case the large function comes in really handy. So as with Excel, start with an equals to sign and start with large, and the first part is what they say is your array, so what data you want to pick from, and the second number is what in the order of largest, so first being the largest, in our case 5 being the smallest, what number do you want to return? So let's return the largest number, and you can see that that gives us 9.5, so that matches. And if you double click here on this little button, it'll fill it in as long as you're adjacent to another full column. So now we've returned the largest number. But actually, often the situation is a little bit more complicated than that. So often there are other things we want to do. So let's put in 2 more adjacent columns here, and let's look at what else you can do with the largest number function. So now supposing I said, well, I want to give the students the best 4 out of 5. I could create a column with this large number 1 and large number 2 and large number 3. But actually, if you use the large function, you can use an array inside the function. So equals to large, and then let's select our source data, so the grades that we want to pick the largest number from. And then in the second part, if we start with a curly bracket, so a curly brace, we can then call up more than one. So let's call up the first and the second largest number. Close that with a curly brace and finish it. Now, if I push enter, it'll just return the largest number because we've only given it one cell to return to. So there's 2 possibilities here. The first is that I pick 2 cells, and then when I'm finished, I push Control, Shift, and Enter. And in adjacent cells, this is now the largest and the second largest. And again, I can fill that all the way down. That's handy. But the other possibility is that actually we want to add them all up at the same time. So if we want to combine, we can see now that Excel has declared this to be an array, or it's part of an array. But if we want to combine all of those in the one cell, so we want to actually add the first and the second value together, what we can do instead, and so if we, I can't change that manually, sorry, you have to change it from here. Instead of setting that as an array, if I get the sum of the product of the array, and what have I done? Let's delete that entirely first. Okay, equals to the sum of the product of the array of the largest of these 5 numbers, and we want the first and the second largest number. Close all those brackets, and you can see now 9.5 and 9 is going to be 18.5, so that's the combined largest 2 combined. Great. So double click all the way down to the end, and now we can see what they're getting for their best 2. Okay, one last thing then is that you can also put an array of values in here, although kind of confusingly, you use a curly brace for your output array, but for your input array, you're going to put in brackets. Why does that matter? Well, what if I want to get the largest of this one, this one, this one, and this one? So we'll start again. We'll say is equal to the sum product, so the sum of the set of the arrays of large. And now usually we just select our 5 things in a row, but we're going to put in an extra bracket, and that will allow us to select this, then this, then this, then this, then this. And if we close that bracket, then we can pick our first and second. Close that bracket, and it'll automatically put in the last one for us. So what's this returned? Well, it's given us the largest and the second largest value out of all of the values that I picked. So out of this one, this one, this one, and this one. So 10 and 9.5 is 19.5. And again, fill it in, and that's another way of using the large function. So hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, post them below.